special on a show for the month of February. And you can see Paris there in her very professional looking black and white suit, very cool looking, while we're not as cool. We're going to go up to 48 today. And it had the audacity to snow last night. I can't imagine, but it did. And today's show really is a spin-off from last week when we were talking about natural ingredients, those herbs and spices that one finds in their kitchen cabinet.
Ginger.
Now, like any other show giving advice or recipes or speaking about ingredients, speak to your primary doctor, speak to your practical nurse, your allergy doctor, whoever takes care of you, your acupuncturist, Chinese herbals. Make sure you speak to these professionals and let them know that you watch a show called People Need Help with Paris London and Lillian Cauldwell. And these are some of the suggestions and tips that she is providing to her audience. And make sure that it's A-okay with them. All right, folks? Because I have no wish to make you get sick. As explained last week, if you're allergic to egg products, the flu shot and the Pfizer shot is not for you. And you need to protect yourself. And the same thing with the new Johnson & Johnson shot. Find out what's in it before you jump at it, because it's only a one-type plunge into the arm. Frankly, I would rather have 3 or 4 shots if it didn't make me sick or ill or blind or dead. So please make sure you check in first with a medical expert who's been licensed by that state and by their college of medicine before you embark on any series of kitchen, garden, or outside garden or container garden. Now we're basically going to do a potpourri of spices and herbs. This is stuff you can buy over at Home Depot or Lowe's. And yes, they even have them in the supermarkets. And if you are a proponent of gardening, I recommend highly that you try to grow the stuff fresh. Why? Because you can dry it just as easily as they can. Now, one of the things I already hear is, Lillian, I'm already working. Yes, you are. Marriage, relationships, in-laws, diet. The list is endless. I have about 20 things already listed on my copy here. But the thing of the matter is, if you want to be successful at whatever you do, you have to draw up a pro list and a con list. Now, for us people who are on restricted diets, there's no con. I mean, Paris has to be very careful in what she eats. She put herself on a vegan diet. I'm in the preliminary stages of renal failure, and I don't want to go on to the next step. So I have to be very, very careful. And I'm sure there are other people with similar stories: cancer, Alzheimer's, allergies. I had a godmother who was allergic to grain, and in those days, in the early 1900s, they didn't know anything about it. So she ate steak and rice for the whole of her life, and that was all she was allowed to eat. Now, most people say, oh gosh, steak, how lucky. But like the king in the castle, you get tired of eating the same rich foods. So it's no wonder he made an exchange with a peasant to eat like the peasant for a while, because he was getting so tired and bloated from all that rich food. So I have a list. I cheated today because we're going to discuss a lot of things, and I may even consult what I call my herbal and spice Bible. As you know, I usually don't use these props, but today is special.
So that's a pro out there. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a pro.
Well, I do my homework. I don't want to put anybody at risk, most of all me. But I also know that if you go out, ladies and gentlemen, and read the list of ingredients on some of the oils and paste and gels and pills and capsules, you would be surprised and relieved, I think, to find that what I'm talking about today, you're going to find right there in your kitchen cabinet, or growing a garden with Arrow Garden, which you can grow herbs. So you can grow just herbs if you want to. And if you need a list of herbs to grow specifically for what I'm talking about, contact me at the number 1 LC podcast, PODCASTS at gmail.com, or contact Paris London at, what's your email?
Talk about live777@gmail.com.
Terrific. So now you have 2 places to go to. If you're a little shy with me because I'm wearing a red hat, fine, go to Paris. She looks relatively saner without the red hat. So our first is, if you're in the midst of a pandemic or a natural disaster or a God-given problem, you can't always run to the store or the pharmacy. Yeah, you can call them up on the phone, but lag times these days are just long. And you may order something from Amazon and see it 3 weeks later. UPS and the postal mail is not the way it used to be. Plus the fact, tip, they're human. They're getting sick too. They're not getting any special preferences. So their workforce is down. They have fewer people working those assembly lines that Ford is so proud to have introduced. Ford didn't realize that the flu epidemic might come back in another form, which it's had. So when you have an assembly line, the whole flock of people are going to get sick because there's no 6-foot distancing in these places. How do I know this? Because I worked on an assembly line when I was, yes, putting myself through college. Yes, parents didn't have the money. Yes, and it took me 25 years to pay off the loan. But the point of the matter is you're cheek and chow, cheek and chow, cheek and chow. So if one person in that assembly line gets sick, chances are it's going to work its way down the line. Therefore, there are going to be less people working their assembly line jobs. So I'm just giving you an alternative to what you don't have to do. And like I said, if you read the list of ingredients, you'll be astonished to find out what's in those things, besides a lot of chemicals. So the first thing is, go to your spice and herb cabinet and take out all the bottles and write up a list of all your spices and all your herbs. Okay?
Spices and herbs.
And what you need to do is leave enough space so you can jot down what each one does individually, and then the chemistry of it all, what they do when they form a team, like a baseball team or a basketball team or a hockey team. You want your favorite football team to win every year? Well, if you put these guys together, you will win every year as well. And that's what you need to know. So the first spice that we're going to work with is turmeric. See that? I don't know if you can read the label, turmeric, but that's what it looks like. And the other thing is, yes, spices are more expensive. Yeah. Than they are. 10, 15. I bought this bottle 15 years ago, so I bought it for $1. But nowadays, they're a lot more expensive. Why? Well, first, they don't come from the United States. They come from overseas. But more importantly, as medical science advances in their studies, they find a lot of these spices have valuable stuff in its makeup that makes us feel better. I mean, I'm sorry to say this, but go ask the Chinese, go ask the Native American Indians. Go ask the Eskimos. All these folk know that. And they weren't developed by emperors. They were developed by herbalists who went out into the field and chose what they felt would be good. And then they went home and they did something with it. So the first thing on the list we're going to be doing is turmeric. So what did they use turmeric and the other one, ginger, use for? Hold on to your hats. They use them for joint inflammation. Surprise you? The first thing that they recommend, and any sport therapist will tell you, is you use a combination of heat and ice. That's your first line of defense. So you apply the ice to whatever is sore on your body. And trust me, I go to sleep with a heating pad on my joints. And in the morning, I get up and I apply the ice. But during the night, I just use the heating pad. Does it make it work? Yes. Does the pain go away? Absolutely. You feel like you're in a sitz bath. It's wonderful. But you have to be persistent. So you're going to apply the ice to your joints 10 to 20 minutes every 4 hours. And you're going to do this for several days. And then once the swelling goes down, you're going to do an alternate of heat first. I mean, talk to the football players. They'll tell you how it's done. That's why they have all those therapists and machines in the clubhouse to help them reduce the inflammation on their joints before they go back out into the field. Ask to take a tour of the facilities. A lot of them will do it. They'll be delighted to do it, that you're taking such an interest in their players. And after all, you're paying those players millions of dollars to play. So you might as well get something worth of your money. I call it a good investment. So then you apply the heat, then you apply the ice, and again, you do that every 4 hours. And you do this for several days. That's your first line of defense. Don't believe everything you hear on TV. My father used to call the TV, and we were around when it first came into existence, the early 1950s. He only had to watch one program, and he dubbed it the idiot box. So keep that in mind. And the other famous saying is, to us children, was, whatever you see on TV, you can't have it. It worked. All right. The next step up is ginger. Now, you can use ginger for a lot of things, but for right now, we're using it for joint inflammation. So what are you going to do? You're going to steep 2 tablespoons of chopped fresh ginger. You can find that in the grocery store. It kind of looks like a plant that has a lot of hair growing out of it, but they're just roots.
It just looks like a root.
It's a root. I had a friend up in Maine. Listen to this, folks. He would chop it up, thin slices, put it on a slice of bread, and eat it every day. And I asked him why. And he says, you don't know the properties? Now, he was an old Yankee farmer. His ancestors came up to Maine after the British lost the Revolutionary War because his ancestors sided with the British. Yes, there were people who actually did that. It's called choice. And we'll go into another discussion another day. However, he traced them all the way back to the Revolutionary times. Everybody in his family of the male line was a preacher of some sort. So he ate raw ginger every day. He was never sick. Must be something in that ginger. So you find the root in your grocery store.
Yeah. And Lillian, let me echo that. You know, in this part of the world, we use ginger every day. It has to be in the dish. And for me, I mean, I'm told by various people, various sources, even books, I bite a garlic, a raw, like today, I bite a raw garlic. And I do that more because of the pandemic times. I bite my garlic and I take my ginger as and when I want. You know, it's such a big deal as part in ginger and garlic. It forms a big deal in our food culture here. Just to echo Lillian, and ladies and gentlemen, you are listening to a pro. Now, please pay attention. Sit up, ladies and gentlemen. The teacher is in class.
Thank you. Incidentally, if you want to eat a healthy meal, despite what you may think, Chinese and Asian food is the way to go, mixed in with a Mediterranean diet. Why? Because the ingredients they use in preparing the food, and I'm not talking about the wealthy industrialists over there, I'm talking about the peasants. They eat a lot of rice. They eat a lot of vegetables. Meat is a luxury. And they use a lot of herbs and spices for the meals. So maybe we'll do a section another time with Chinese cooking with Paris London, and she can show you how a recipe is put together, why the chemistry of it is good for you to
I
eat.
would love to do that. I would love to do that. Now let's dive back to where your ginger pepper is. Is that a ginger powder?
No, it's chopped fresh ginger and 3 cups of just boiled water. You have to make sure it's boiled because you're going to steep it for 20 minutes. Then you're going to strain it with what? Well, you go to the hardware store and you pick up cheesecloth. Just say, I want some cheesecloth. They'll know. That's the same material they use as mosquito netting. Okay. And then what you do is you soak a washcloth in that strained ginger water, and you wring it out and you put it on your joints that hurt for 5 minutes. And you repeat a few times during the day. So when you go for your water break, and I know a lot of Americans drink lots of bottled water, you can go and do that. Everybody has a microwave. It doesn't take long over the flame on your stove or your electric burner. Even on an electric, they have independent burners now that you can purchase at the hardware store, plug it in, and if you like, just keep on boiling the water and adding new water to it during the day. That's how you make stew. That's how you make soup. That's how you make beans. I don't want to hear any complaints. And then if you want to, you have to remember that if you want to feel better and not put out a lot of money, this is a way of doing it. How do I know this? I keep operational costs for both my personal and my company. And you don't really respect how much money goes out in 1 month until you do an operational cost for each month. It will blow your mind. And you say, well, Lillian, that's why I have a CPA. Yeah, well, I give him my operational costs and he thanks me for it because it really gives him a detailed report, whether you pay online, whether you pay automatically, whether something has bounced. Trust me, I use PNC Bank. If I just breathe the wrong way, I get a warning from them. And I'm sure your bank is the same way. So what's next on the list? Well, turmeric. Why is turmeric such an important spice? Well, first of all, it contains curcumin, C-U-R-C-U-M-I-N, which is found to help to reduce inflammation. And you can get it at the health food store. You can probably find it at Walmart. I've got to tell you, they got a pharmaceutical on the shelves that is simply impressive, especially if you go to the headquarters of Walmart or whatever state. I know that when I walk into the one in Pennsylvania, I can find anything. I even found chocolate rice cakes that was only 50 calories and no fat. Oh my God. So just saying, you're going to look at turmeric because it's useful in your joints, but it's also when it's combined with bromelain, BROMELAN. This is found in pineapple. Hello, so go out and buy that pineapple chunks. It also possesses an anti-inflammatory property. So that plus a teaspoon of the turmeric powder equals, you add it to 1 cup of warm milk. Now,
Okay.
it can be
Let
fat-free.
me just repeat that for the ladies and gentlemen.
Sure.
It is turmeric plus pineapple plus a little bit of milk.
Yes.
I mean, it tastes wonderful.
Yeah, don't it? And you drink it once or twice a day.
And it's
now,
almost like a
that
slimming
better
recipe.
than taking bare aspirin?
Yeah, I mean, it's almost like a slimming recipe, right?
And the pineapple is sweet. You can buy your canned, packed in water pineapple by Dole's. I buy it all the time. Or if you can't find it and you're on food stamps, get the stuff in heavy syrup. Put it into the cheesecloth. Let it drain out and then wash it with cold water. So that will help. Now, if you're into fragrant oils, I'm allergic to fragrance. So I have to be very careful what I do. But you're going to get at the health food store, and again, try Walmart, you might be surprised. It used to be you can find anything at Alice's restaurant. Well, you can find anything you want at Walmart. It is amazing. So you're going to take several drops of lavender oil, and you're going to take thyme, which you should be able to find in your kitchen cabinet, or eucalyptus. Can't spell it. It's EUCALPYTUS. Oil, essential oil.
Okay, just to rewind a little bit, you're talking about mixing oils together. So you've got eucalyptus oil, thyme oil, and also lavender oil.
Yes, and then you're going to mix it with sweet almond oil.
Almond oil.
And you're going to mix it all together.
Yeah.
This is the best part, especially if you're married or have a boyfriend or you have an energetic child. You're going to gently massage that oil mixture into the joint several times a day. Yes, joints. Knees, yes.
Yes, and the knees.
And I've got to tell you, you're not going to go out and lie in the sun because you get burned to death.
But with the essential oil.
You are going to stay at home. And if your kid wants to play whatever, doctor or nurse, well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a good thing to introduce them to. They can put it on their own body. They can put it on their friend's knee. I mean, this is a learning experience for anybody. So don't go out and buy those expensive perfumey massage oils. The next time you go to a massage therapist and get a half an hour, find out what they use.
Yes.
You'll be blown away.
Yeah.
Now, if you want to take advantage of, after having the massage, if you have joined a gym, there are professionals who are licensed to talk to you about stretching and exercising for your arthritis, your lupus, your MS, anything that involves sore joints, tennis elbow, I don't care how you put it. Speak to them, tell them what your problem is, and then from them, they'll tell you what kind of stretching and what kind of exercising you should be doing with those joints You don't want to aspirate them, which means make it worse. You want to work with what you have. Case in point, I have knees that pop out of joint. It's almost like childbirth, ladies, or gentlemen, it's like dislocating a joint when you're playing golf. It hurts like hell. So you don't want that to happen to you when you're running or even walking at a fast pace, playing hockey. I don't care what you're doing. You don't want it to come out again. There are special exercises that person can recommend that you do. Not everybody should jump on the treadmill and start jogging. Not everybody should do that exercise that goes like this.
Yeah, like a paddling, rowing action.
Yes. You really need, and ask your doctor. And if he doesn't know, have him recommend you to an orthopedic doctor, because that's their job. And have them advise you what you should and shouldn't not be doing. And ladies, listen up. Those really high heels that everybody loves, including men, they're the worst, absolutely worst thing that you can wear on a continual basis. How do I know this? My mom was a model, feet, hands. She wore really high heels. And her feet were a mess by the time she was in her 50s. Her feet would go in like that. And she had terrible bunions. And yes, she had to have surgery to correct it. And they put metal in that. A lot of ladies do that. So my suggestion to you, if you have to wear heels, compromise, get wedges. And when you go out for lunch, put on sneakers or sandals. Anything that's going to give your foot a break, because it's an unnatural position. Have you ever spoken to a ballerina and you look at their feet? They have no toenails. No matter what they do, their feet are in horrible condition. So if you're worried about your feet, go and talk to a podiatrist, talk to a trainer, and find out what you should be doing. Because if you lose your toes, you have no balance. Bet you didn't know that. So you've got to take care of your body. And this is one way of doing it, especially if you're at home and for whatever the reason, you're only limited to buy 8 items. And if they're not considered essential items, they don't get bought. That's the whole reason why we're going through this episode and a couple of other episodes. To let you know how to take care of yourself at home.
And you're talking about the 8 items because of the situation you're in for independent living. Yeah,
it doesn't matter whether you're 22 or 95. Why do you think seniors wear comfort shoes, especially the women now?
Yeah.
A lot of them have had operations on their feet, not once, but several times. You cannot grow new limbs. Amoebas can, and other fish like octopi or squid, but we cannot. So you need to take care of what you were given at birth.
Yeah.
And if you don't believe me, look at some of the doctor shows they have on television, on those special channels, talking about pimples, talking about feet. Yes, representing the worst that they can find, but they're also trying to make a point about how you need to take care of yourself.
Yep. Lillian.
Yes.
So all these are things that people can find. They can use the turmeric, the ginger, and the essential oils. I mean, they are something that is reachable, and they're not expensive, and people should have it in their homes as part of the contingency plan that you have. If anything happens to the joint, and I especially like your essential oil formula, because you really don't want those chemical laden oils, because if you apply it on the skin, it is the largest organ. It does absorb all the chemicals that comes with the perfume, artificial fragrance, that gives
The
you that,
color,
yeah,
the color dyes.
the color, yeah, the color and the fragrance, so we need to have something as natural as possible, especially like what you say, the essential oils, and if we are going for, like what you say, a body massage because of certain pains, because of relaxation, etc., I think it's always a good advice to bring your own oil. When I look at what the oil, I've done a couple of massage before. No, after the massage, the oil just didn't seem to sit well with my body because of the chemical. Can you imagine, the whole body was rubbed with oils, but it is actually oil plus chemicals, in the label. So, I always feel that it's always better that if we can take charge of our own health, we understand and we have the awareness as a consumer, we are in control of our health and our destiny and our lives.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, these are some things that you can teach to your children who can carry it down to their children. Because whether you believe it or not, resources all over the world are getting smaller and smaller. I think if there's somebody else out there, they may take exception to us mining the moon and Mars for our civilization. So as a result, you're going to have to use what you have. And if you go to masseuse, put it together in an oil mixture and hand it to him and say, this is what I want you to use. If you're allergic to dye or fragrance, like I am, you want to use something that is not going to make you get sicker. The idea is to make you well, not sicker. And I will share a little insight with all of you. You know, all that favorite gels with the tubes and that stop pain fast and this and that. My late husband was an organic chemist, and the number one ingredient in all that stuff are hot red peppers, grounded up in some way. That's what's producing the heat. Just something for you to think about.
Red hot peppers. I love them. I can't live without them.
Jalapenos. That's right. An inside outside treatment.
I can't live without them.
Oh, I know what to get you for Christmas. Now, the next ingredient on the list, I know you have, is chamomile. And I know that you either hate it or love it. I hate it, but I can use it if I have to. So what are you going to be using chamomile for? Well, it helps you go to sleep. That's the number one property. So instead of going out and buying the whatever it's called, begins with an M, and everybody's capitalizing on it. Have you noticed or heard everybody's going in that one direction? Try chamomile.
Are you talking about melatonin?
I'm talking, yes, everybody's now using it. It comes in all different forms and flavors, but you can use chamomile for more than half the price.
I mean, I love that. I love the fragrance. I love the natural oil that comes with the chamomile. Yeah.
Now, you can either try chamomile tea or lemon balm tea, which is also a natural herb. So let's go to chamomile because everybody knows what it is. And no, you don't have to buy it from the Whole Food Market in a tea and pay $5 for the box. Nope, there's an easier way. You can use 1 teaspoon of dried chamomile in a cup of just boiled water for 5 minutes. Then you strain it through the cheesecloth or strainer. You can buy strainers if you really look hard in the grocery aisle where all the pots and pans and other stuff is. I know because that's where I bought mine. Not only did I buy a strainer, but I bought a tea strainer, which means you put loose leaves into the metal little strainer, put the cap on, hook it on the side of the cup, pour the water on, and voila, you're in business, folks. All right, so you're going to take the dried chamomile, 1 teaspoon, in a cup, 8 ounces of water. Just boil water and let it steep for 5 minutes. You strain it. And if you want to sweeten the pot, so to speak, you're going to add 1 teaspoon of freshly grated ginger. See, ginger again. And you can sweeten it with honey. Now, folks, honey is concentrated sugar. Yes, it comes from honeybees. Yes, it's in garden. But guess what? It is 100 times sweeter than cane sugar. So, as they say, a dollop of daisy, you want less than a dollop. You don't need a lot. Stick your finger in there and then get it off. That's all you need, because honey will do the trick. Now, you can also use maple syrup. Maple syrup is concentrated tree bark sap from maple trees. It takes a cup, and when you boil it all down for maple syrup, you may have, if you're lucky, a teaspoon. Pure maple sugar doesn't always have to come from Vermont. There are other places where birch trees live. If you're diabetic, or like me, borderline, thanks to prednisone, use a sweetener that is an alternative, or they now make maple syrup with Splenda. So yeah, you're going to get into some chemicals there. But the choice is, do I die, go blind, or have amputation, or just I have a little bit of artificial sugar? And for me, who does not imbibe a lot of soda, for example, using an alternative, I forget what the other one is, the Splenda, it grows as a root. In fact, you can buy the root and grow it in your kitchen. I will find the name for it. It slips my mind at the moment, but you can use that to sweeten it with. And a lot goes a long way. You're just trying to give yourself a little bit of taste to it, because chamomile is pretty, well, to me, nasty.
Yeah. Lillian, are you referring to molasses?
No. Now, molasses is burned sugar.
Yeah.
So you don't want molasses, or if you use
residual sugar. Yeah.
You want to use sorghum, which is a plant derivative, and will give you the same taste of molasses, except it has less sugar in it.
Can you tell us more about sorghum?
Sugar in it.
I've not heard about that.
Sorghum? Well, I lived off the land for 4 years. I homesteaded up in Maine. Go shoot me. But go and ask for sorghum in any health food store. They'll know exactly what you're talking about. And if they don't, shame on them. But sorghum is what you want, not molasses. Molasses is a no-no. Okay? So when you do all of that, you can then drink it before or after a meal. Now, for me, who's always trying to find ways not to eat a lot at dinner time because you're not doing too much activity afterwards, I drink it before my dinner meal. And the hotness fills me up, so I don't eat as much. Well, they say, well, Lily, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you can't get fat on that. And my father would say, look at a cow. All they eat is grass. So, like anything else, too much, it builds up. You know the old saying, which is heavier, a block of gold or a pound of hay or a pound of feathers? And the answer is a pound of feathers.
It's still a pound. It's still a pound.
It's still a pound. So you have all that weight put together.
Okay, I have a question. I have a question to be thrown to you. what helps in digestion and absorption of nutrients, better
Well,
absorption of nutrients?
chamomile is used for stomach digestions as well as ginger, and we'll go into that. I have a list, and I didn't even complete all of it, but I'm going to give people.
Please continue the list. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, please. The principal is in the house. The teachers in the house.
A basic tea that you can mix it all up together because everything's dried, which means you can take it when you travel. And you can say in the restaurant, I want a cup of hot boiling water. And if you insist, yeah, give me a slice of lemon, but you're not going to use lemon. So this is the recipe, and I know that Paris will repeat it for you. 2 ounces of dried chamomile flowers. 2 ounces of dried lavender flowers. 1 ounce of dried lemon balm leaf. 1 ounce dried catnip. Lock out the cats. It's a drug for them. Okay. 1 ounce of dried peppermint leaf. This is all stuff that you can buy at Home Depot and Lowe's, and probably in the grocery store, and most probably in the garden section of Walmart. They're herbs. They're very common. In fact, once you plant peppermint or mint or chocolate mint in your garden, you'll have it to the day you die, and your great, 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 great grandchildren will probably be using it as well. It's one of those hardy things, okay? And you're going to put it in an 8-ounce glass, sanitize. You're going to sterilize the jar with a tight-fitting lid, and you mix it all together. Shake, shake, shake your booty, shake it all the time. Yes, well, I'm not a singer. So you want to mix it up, and then you want to start in a dark, cool place. So that could be a closet, that can be your basement, that can be even in your refrigerator, whatever turns you on. I mean, there's a reason why people store the money in the freezer. Don't ask. Okay. Now, to make up your tea, you're going to steep 2 teaspoons in a cup of just boiled water for 5 minutes, strain it, and sweeten it. And there's your cup of tea. That will make you feel better, make your stomach feel better, and put you to sleep. So don't drink it before a board meeting. And for those people who are interested and want to enter to win a Starbucks card, email either Paris at
talkaboutlife777@gmail.com
or the number 1 at cpodcast, PODCASTS @gmail.com. And what should it be? The 6th person who writes in will get the Starbucks card. Now, these are cards that have been given to me as presents during the last several years, and I have not used them. You can put whatever amounts on it, or maybe I've already put amount on it. It's one of those fishing expeditions, as they say. But I have the cards, and I'll be more than willing to send one to you to see whether or not you're paying attention and you want that recipe. Yes, you're going to have to work at it like anything else. It's one of these universal things. All right, so what's next on the list?
I love the tea recipe, and I'm falling in love with it already because, I mean, it sounds all so good. You've got the lemon leaf, and then you've got, all these. It just gives you such a beautiful aroma. It just wakes you up. It just kind of like, it gives you the extra energy. I know I can really feel it. I can imagine, because I'm so in love with these natural products, herbs, leaves, and you're doing a homemade potpourri recipe that is that you can bring with you wherever you are. Just put it in your bag if you're going to the office, or you can put it in the home, and any time in the night you can take it out. You can cook it for your friends. It's such a lovely, lovely fragrance. I love
You
it.
can use it when you're on the airplane. If you're traveling
I
between
love
here and
it. I love
Singapore,
it.
which is 8 or 10 hours,
I love it.
or
And I
that,
do
or
that.
Australia,
I do
trust
that.
me,
And
you
look,
want something common.
I'm having my own tea bag here. I've got my own tea bag here. I would love to ask um, um, Lillian, have you heard of kombucha?
Chamomile?
Now, have you heard of kombucha?
No, I have never heard of that. What is it?
Not something new recently. We can talk about that in the future. It's a
Okay, that
fermented
sounds
tea.
good.
Could you complete your list? I mean, listeners out there, teachers in the house, pay attention.
All right, I'm going to give you another massage oil mixture. It's with
Yes.
chamomile.
Tell us.
So you take chamomile. You're going to combine 3 drops of chamomile essential oil. Where are you going to find this place? Well, in the US, they have these nutrition shops, health food shops. So I'm pretty sure you can buy it there. I know you can buy them in Whole Foods Market because they have a lot of oils there. And again, you could probably find it on Amazon or on eBay. You may want to shop around. There's a new food service in the States called Imperfect Foods, and everything is organic, but it's material that has not been used because it's not perfect. So it's delivered to you and you get a lot of stuff for less money than if you go out to the supermarket. All right, so you combine 3 drops of chamomile essential oil, 3 drops of rosemary essential oil, and 1/4 cup sweet almond oil. You mix it all together and you apply gently to your skin and you gently massage it. No, if you're an alien, from what I see, it may or may not help you with your reptile scales. But
No,
hey,
but
you may try it.
I already am falling in love with it because with the almond oil is so much vitamin E. It almost sounds like anti-aging.
Now, if you have trouble falling asleep, you also may want to try putting a sachet of lavender, dry lavender leaves, or you can use the freshly cut lavender leaves. They don't have to be dried out. And you put it into your pillowcase. So you open it up, shove it in, put it down, go to sleep. Now, if you're allergic to lavender, please don't use it. The New England people came up with something that I used to my son, and there isn't an ingredient in milk that does it. Cannot think of it. But if you give them warm milk with a dab of butter and some honey, it works. And again, be very careful with that honey. All right, it's a natural remedy. I was brought up with this stuff. My mother's father was a doctor and he used a lot of home remedies. He was way ahead of his time. And of course, they were brought up during the Great Depression and World War II. So they couldn't run out to the grocery store to get a lot of these products. They lived in New York City. So they had to do with what they found in their cupboards. Something to think about. All right. So you can also brew a cup of lavender tea. And with lavender, you steep 2 teaspoons of dried lavender flowers and 1 cup of just boiled water. Add a little sweetness to it, and then you can brush it over your teeth and gums. And you're going to say, Lillian, what does that have to do with sleeping? Well, if you're having problems with your mouth, got a tooth problem, cavity, pain, root canal, this will calm everything down. That's what lavender does. It's a calming herb. I'm not going to say if you take some lavender and swish it under the nose of your teenage son or daughter who's driving you slightly crazy, it's going to work all the time. But reverse psychology works just as well. But that's another episode. All right. Now, you have acne. I still get acne, and I'm 70 years old. My son had acne all over his face, and he did not want to go to a skin doctor to have all those chemicals put on his face. My father had acne, and they used radiation directly on his face, and they believe that's why he got Parkinson's later on in life. They don't do that anymore. They didn't really understand what radiation treatment did, so they grasp at straws. But we're not grasping at straws. There are certain natural ingredients you can use to calm down your acne. If it gets worse or it doesn't do the trick, please go call your doctor. In fact, call your doctor before you try it. And they may say, horrified, no, don't. But on the other hand, if you're seeing an osteopathic doctor or a holistic doctor, you might get a different story. So check it out. That's your first homework assignment for anything I'm mentioning here. Research, homework, check it out. Brand it on your forehead.
I like that. Research, homework, check it out. That's the slogan.
We'll keep it. Okay. So sometimes acne itches, eczema itches. Hey, mosquito bites itches. Everybody has a different way of doing it. My late husband, the chemist, suggested, and it worked, you wash it in cold water with soap and water, especially the soap. Guess what? It works. So don't run out to buy the chamomile lotion. All right. Don't take that anti-allergic capsule that you use for allergies to keep you from scratching it. There are other ways of handling it. The first one is milk. You make a milk compress. What kind of milk? I don't think your skin really cares.
Tell us about this milk compress. I've not heard of it.
You take 2 cups of milk and you add some ice cubes. How difficult is that, folks? You pour a cup of milk into the bowl with the ice cubes. You take a washcloth and you soak it in the mixture. And then you place the washcloth over the affected area several times.
Oh, just with milk and ice.
Just milk and ice.
Okay, it calms
Now,
down,
I
right?
know my late husband was a milk drinker. So was my father. So I know that milk pretty much is a staple in most homes, especially if you have toddlers or babies. You want them to get that vitamin C. Milk and ice cubes. Think you can lift the gallon bottle of milk? If you can't, maybe you should start working out and lifting both of them. However, that's not what this particular program is about. Chamomile. Yeah, pour back to chamomile again. You're going to brew a strong cup of chamomile tea and let it cool to room temperature. And then you use a cotton ball, you know, the kind that comes out of one of those sterilized bags. You're going to dip it into the mixture, and then you're going to apply it to the affected area. Not too difficult, huh? My favorite is taking an oatmeal bath.
Wow, tell us. I
you can
love
use
oatmeal. Tell us about what is this oatmeal bath? Wow. We're
Now,
getting
you
so many
can,
secrets from Lillian. Tell us about this oatmeal bath.
Okay, now
I want to have
I
the oatmeal
used
bath.
regular oatmeal. You know, the oatmeal that you buy from Quaker Oatmeal. And you get
Oatmeal.
enough of an idea. You mix so much of that with, you put it in your bath water. So I usually used a cup. And you're going to say, but doesn't it form cereal? Yeah, it does. And guess what? That's what you're putting on and soaking over your eczema or your
I see.
psoriasis.
And
You're trying,
yeah,
or insect bites. When back in the
fantastic.
50s, they didn't have a lot of these fancy
Medicine, yes. They
medications
don't have the
or the
creams.
measles or
Yeah.
chicken pox
They needed a
or
lot of
a
natural
mumps
ingredients.
or alert allergies where you got these bumps all over, hives. What did they do? Mom threw the oatmeal in the bath with the water, wait until it cooled down,
Wow.
and threw the kid in, gave him a book to read, and says, I'll see you in 30 minutes.
Now I am going to try that immediately. It really sounds like number one, an anti-aging process, because you know oats is vitamin E, ladies and gentlemen. Oats. There's so much wholesome goodness from the oats. And it absorbs the oil. If you have a greasy skin, if you have a greasy body, you know, it absorbs. I think it even absorbs the
It absorbs.
smell.
It
Yeah, it even
absorbs and
absorbs the smell, whatever smell is coming from your armpits or whatever smell. I think it just takes it all away. Oh my God, it's such a simple formula, and I think it's like a one formula that like hits all the buttons.
so, I mean, even if you're taking a shower, folks, seriously, mix
Yes,
up a batch
exactly.
like
A bowl. I'm going to
liquid
use that for my
soap.
face.
Yes, and I mean, look at all the money that the people in cosmetology, did I say that right, is making on.
Yes.
Oil of Olay
Yes.
when I was a kid was like cheap. Now
Yeah.
you're putting out 35, 45, 50 bucks for what? Something this big?
Yeah. With a lot of chemicals too.
With a lot of chemicals in it.
With unspeakable names.
My kid had acne like his grandfather
Yeah.
did. He did not want to go to a specialist. We didn't have the money. Made $5.25 an hour.
Yeah.
You calculate it. And everything came out of that. Rent, food, insurance, car, the whole 9 yards.
Mm.
So we couldn't afford any of that fancy stuff. But I was raised on oatmeal for baths.
I love it. I love it.
And
I'm
that's
going
what
to use
he
that
used.
immediately. Ladies and gentlemen,
And
that's
while
something
he
you could
got
use
a little bit
immediately.
teased for using the oatmeal from his peer group, and I said, what's more important to you, your face or your peer group? And he looked at me and said, that's no brainer, Mom, my face. Because he was a boy, he was a teenager.
Yeah, yeah. He doesn't want to be teased by his peers.
Exactly. So it's more important for him to try and get rid of the acne and the itching and everything else.
Yes.
My way than the highway.
Yeah.
And that's a lesson you need. I'll give you one quick lesson because we're out of time. My son started wearing one glove because of Michael Jackson. And I corralled him one day and I said, excuse me, who are you? And he says, I'm Benjamin David. And I said, no, you're not. You're wearing a glove. So you're imitating Michael Jackson. And I said, if you want to be Ben Cauldwell, dress and act and wear what's important to Ben Cauldwell. You're not Jackson. I said, I'm delighted you love his music and you think he's the greatest thing since applesauce, but you are not Michael Jackson. There's only one of him, and there's only one Ben David Cauldwell. And that was it. He started wearing one of those earrings that you can connect on the ear, but he really didn't get his ears pierced, and that's another story. Anyway, the fact is that you want to teach your kids to do what's going to be good for them, not anybody else. And that includes their health and how they take care of themselves. One of the things my son realized in the comic book world that most of the people had bleeding gums. They never brushed their teeth. And my son was blessed with the kind of mouth that he had from his grandmother. He didn't have to brush his teeth. He never got any cavities. Of course, he didn't eat many sweet foods. We couldn't afford them. But the fact of the matter was his gums started bleeding. And I said, you have to take care of them like you take care of shaving every day. And he said, okay, got it. And he started brushing his teeth. He hasn't had a bleeding gum since. But like anything else, you have to take care of what you were given at birth. Good, bad, or indifference, you cannot let your health suffer, because sooner or later, folks, you do not remain 22 forever. You age. And as you age, your body depends on the foundation which you created when you were a child.
Well said, Lillian. Yeah,
So I want to
wonderful.
thank you
Yeah.
all very much for joining me this morning. I want to thank Paris London for her patience with me getting everything out. Although we still have a long way to go. I have all kinds of natural ailments for everything that
Yes, I saw you've
mankind
got lots of pages
has
printed
suffered
out.
from the beginning of time, and we will go through it step by step, inch by inch. I want to also let people know that on March, where did I put it? Oh, yes, on March
The 4th?
5th
5th.
at 3 p.m. Eastern, I'm doing a relaunch of a show called People Need Help. I've been having problems meeting the 5 o'clock deadline, so I brought it down 2 hours, and episode 8 will be a relaunch of the show. So please join us. You'll never know who's going to be on the show with me. It's for me to know, and if you're interested, you to find out. More of that later. There will be a special membership site that you can sign in and get advance notice and maybe a recipe before the rest of the crowd comes and join us. Friday afternoons at 3 p.m. Eastern. It will be done live through StreamYard.
Okay, tell us the other programs. You've got the other podcasts and also the other programs with the other stations.
I have a program called Cool Your Heels, where I interview people whose voices need to be heard. So if you're a celebrity or a best-selling book author or a well-known sports figure, you do not need me. You already have ABC, CBS, NBC, Fox News, CNBC, and all the famous or infamous talk show hosts on television and on the internet. Who I am seeking are people who need to get their voices heard because they have something to say and no one is giving them the time of day to get their voices heard. Number one. Number two, PWTRN, Passionate World Talk Radio Network, has a TV channel on Binge. So if you have a documentary that you're having trouble placing somewhere in the industry, or you can't get on that famous film that I cannot remember who's in charge of it. He's a very old actor by now. Anyway, if you need access, we have 5 to 6 million listeners per month. And on YouTube, we have close to 1,900 minutes of straight viewing on our videos. So you will be heard. And for a fee, yes, because we have to pay Binge TV for the luxury of having a TV channel with them, and they are heard all over the world. BingeTV.com, take a look. Our station is called Topsy Turvy because today's world is upside down and inside out and backwards. Just go ask the British.
I like that. Could you say that again? Upside down, inside.
Upside down, inside out, and backwards.
And backwards.
So if you're interested in that, again, contact me, number one, scpodcasts@gmail.com or ParisLondon at.
Okay, talk about live777@gmail.com. Right here.
And let us know. We also have the ability to separate audio from the video. So if you're interested in that, again, for a small fee, listen, this is a for-profit station. It costs way over $2,500 a month to run this station operationally. I'll tell you a secret. I use my Social Security. I am that passionate about what I do. You should know. If you're looking for, if you want to become a sponsor, be an advertiser, do a commercial, or want to make a small investment, you'll get plenty of benefits. This one particular show on amfm247.com garners 100,000 listeners for each episode. So during a 4-week month, that's 400,000 listeners. On a 5-week month, that's 500,000 listeners.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, let me repeat. So that's the passionate world talk radio network that has about 100,000 listeners or viewers per month. You're talking about
per episode, per program. Cool Your Heels. So Cool Your Heels receives approximately 100,000 listeners each time it airs.
Where can we find that?
The name of the radio station is amfm247.com, Lillian Cauldwell, and you should be able to find it.
So ladies and gentlemen, to amfm247.com, and then you'll find that Cool Your Heels by Lillian Cauldwell. So ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank Lillian for spending 3 episodes of very illuminating information with us. And you know, there's going to be a future collaboration. Lillian, tell us about our collaboration about Heroes of Our Times, and then we can invite viewers and listeners who have people who are in the healthcare industry.
This past year, and even this year in 2021, Paris came up with the idea of Heroes of Our Times. So who are these heroes? These folks are the people we take for granted. These are the people that really not too many people pay attention to because that's their job. Well, guess what? It's not their job to work 24/7 for a week, to wear double masks, plastic, a raincoat, anything that they can find to protect themselves. So when they get home, they strip at the vestibule of their home, given a robe, and then walk into the shower before they do anything else. Doctors, nurses, nurse practitioners, laboratory workers, none of these people, nurse assistants, caregivers, talking about nursing homes, people who work with the elderly, or people who work with people who are handicapped or mentally challenged. The list is rather long. These people did not sign up to devote their life on the front lines of a battlefield. Yes, a battlefield of health. It's called the pandemic. It's also called anything that comes in that nobody really has a prescription for or an idea of how to treat. COVID was the main disease. Now they have strands that are coming out of Africa that they don't even know if the present vaccinations are going to treat. And guess what, folks? They haven't really slept all that much because they balance their frontline battle and go back and take care of patients via video or video the phone. Or as my doctor put it, if you can drag yourself down to my office, I will take care of you. So I've dragged myself down there a couple of times. We don't talk about them, but without them, like the police, like the firemen, and like our brave soldiers, we would be up a creek without a paddle. So Paris thought it would be an awesome way of thanking them by bringing these people on to share their stories of what it's like to be on the medical front line. There are no safe places for them. There's no place to hide. Their Hippocratical oath states to save lives at all costs.
Salute.
And you better believe that they do exactly that.
I salute all the healthcare workers and all the helpers that Lillian has actually described and detailed. And 2021 is going to be a series for to showcase their work, their sacrifices, their stories, and I think it will create awareness about how important their work is and how little understanding and how little appreciation we are giving to these people who are literally fighting their front line. So, ladies and gentlemen, keep with us as we roll out the series Heroes of Our Times in 2021. And we already have the first episode with Dr. Moby that will be rolled out in March as our first inaugural episode interview. Lillian, is there anything you would like to wrap up for the next 1 minute?
One more thing, folks. If you're sick outside of COVID and you think you have the flu and you're not sure, call your doctor immediately. Apparently, the symptoms of both are similar and you cannot afford to get sick. Even with a shot, you can still get sick. Number two, if you have cancer, if you have skin problems, if you have Parkinson's, dementia, Alzheimer's, if you have another illness outside of COVID, keep in touch with your doctor. Your illness is just as important as COVID. It can still kill you, blind you, amputate you, and most importantly, destroy your present standard of living. And we'll go into that in a future episode as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Lillian. And once again, ladies and gentlemen, those of you who are tuning in now, if you missed a good part of the show, don't worry, because this is going to be out in infinity. Click back and then watch again. Click back and watch again. This show is for you. It's done for you with a lot of love, care from all of us, the whole panel of international co-hosts. And I'd like to reiterate again, ladies and gentlemen, if you missed the show on live cast, watch the shows below. You will have 3 episodes of People Need Help from Lillian Cauldwell, all the way from Pennsylvania, USA. And she shared with us so much things about vaccination, COVID-19, and also some of the self-help you can use from your home kitchen to take care of yourself and your health as number one. So I'd like to thank Lillian for 3 episodes of her show. But this is not going to be the end, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to see more of her in our collaboration with Heroes of Our Times that we're going to roll out. And we already have our first episode with our first interview with Dr. Moby from Virginia. And then we're going to have participation from all over the world, nurses, doctors, stewards, cleaners, hospital cleaners, clinicians in all parts of the world. And I also open the floor to ladies and gentlemen. Write in if you want to be interviewed and if you want to be part of the show for Heroes of Our Times to talk about some of these struggles and hardships you or your families have gone through during this pandemic times. Am I right, Lillian?
Yes, very much right. And a thought for all of you, now is not the time for any of these medical personnel to go on strike because of what they're facing on the front lines.
Yes.
Something to think about, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. Who do you call when you need medical help? Not Ghostbusters. You go to the emergency room. Well, think about what would happen if you go to the emergency room and there's no doctor or nurse waiting for you.
Yeah, so to echo what Lillian has said, we should be out here, just putting the word out, getting the word out that, healthcare workers need to have their salaries increased, by 10 times. They're the one that's fighting the war out there and keeping us safe. They're the veterans out there. So with this, Lillian, I want to thank you so much. And ladies and gentlemen, tune into her show and also her radio podcast, Passionate World Talk Radio Network, and also AMFM247.com. Her show, Lillian Cauldwell, in the radio station that has about 100,000 listeners per episode, per show. And also her show, if anyone would like to sponsor, you can write to her at 1C Podcast. Am I right?
1SC.
1SC.
Sarah Cauldwell.
Okay. Could you say that again to write to you?
1, the number 1, S for Sarah, C for Cauldwell, for Cauldwell, podcast, PODCASTS @gmail.com.
Okay, there you have it. The name is there. You can look at it, and also it's going to be below here. And ladies and gentlemen, if you missed the live show today on the 27th of February, look again and share the video again. Lillian's show, People Need Help, and all the other co-hosts. And would like to thank Lillian and thank the whole panel of international co-hosts from many parts of America. You've got Virginia, and then Virginia, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, Texas, Indianapolis, and also Georgia. And then you've got Mexico City, Pakistan, India, Malaysia, and in Singapore. So everyone, please tune in. And also another very special day whereby we're going to take a bow to thank everyone for tuning in. Tomorrow at Singapore time, 10:45 p.m., which is at 9:45 a.m. America Eastern Standard Time. Tune in to see the co-hosts and the fans, who is the rest of the international guests of Talk About Life, to be with us, to take a bow to close the pandemic. Thank you so much, Lillian, for to be so committed. I mean, I just want to give you a salute, Lillian, for your commitment and also for your professionalism. I mean, ladies and gentlemen, please give a round of applause to Lillian, the pro, right there. And I would like Lillian and your family to please stay safe.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lillian. Now
You're very much welcome.
We'll talk more tomorrow, and then we'll text each other at Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, you can find us on Facebook. Talk to us. You can find us on podcasts and YouTube. And there we have it. The Prolonged Pandemic live cast tomorrow is the final night. You're gonna see the panel of co-hosts, and then the fans can always come in. Thank you so much, Lillian.
Thank you.
And stay safe. Now I'm going to see you again in our next collaboration.
Sounds good. Have a good evening. Bye.